If you looked at the April numbers for Frisco and Prosper, you might think that home prices are, well, starting to fall. In Frisco, the median sales price was down 3.7% compared to last year, and in Prosper, it was down 7% over the same time period. But those numbers are missing something, well, important. When you separate resale homes from new construction, the picture changes pretty dramatically. So here, as you can see, in Frisco, if we look at just resale, home prices were down 1.8% year over year, whereas in Prosper, resale prices were actually up 3% year over year. The bigger drops are in new construction, down 15.5% year over year in Frisco and 13.2% in Prosper. And that is the real story right now. And that is what we're going to unpack in this video. So if someone was to say that home prices are falling in Frisco and Prosper, the right question to ask is, where? Are we talking resale? Are we talking new construction? Are we talking completed builder inventory just sitting on the ground? Because all of those things are not the same market. What this tells us is that the builders were still working through quite a bit of inventory. And if you've seen any of my other market updates, you know I've been talking about that for a while now. And some of these homes, they're the ones that are completed. The builders want them off their books. So those are the ones that they are cutting great deals on. Because when that builder has standing inventory, they tend to get way more aggressive in terms of price reductions, closing cost assistance, rate incentives, or a combination of all three. But that doesn't mean every single new construction home is a deal. But if you're flexible as far as the lot, the floor plan, or timing, there may be opportunities in new construction right now that you're not going to find in the resale market. Now, here's the part that people tend to overlook when they get too focused in on the price headlines. And that is that buyer activity has certainly not disappeared in our local market. So what we're looking at here is the pending sales numbers. Those are properties that are under contract for April. And as you can see, in Frisco, year over year, pending sales are up an incredible 21.9% over last year. In Prosper, pending sales are up 8.2%. Now, if we switch this around and we look at closed sales, you're going to see a very similar picture. That's the actual number of homes selling. In Frisco, they were up 6.7% year over year. But take a look at Prosper. In Prosper, they were up 20.8% year over year. So this is not a dead market by any means. Buyers are definitely still active, but they are being more selective. They're looking a lot harder at price. They're comparing resale against new construction. They're paying close attention to the monthly payments, and they are much less willing to overpay for a home that is dated, overpriced, or poorly positioned, which means for sellers, that matters. If your home is priced correctly and it shows well, there are buyers in this market. But if you still think it's 2021, 2022, then you're going to find the road is an awful lot harder. Now, next up here, we're taking a look at the weekly data from my Altos market report. This information is updated much more regularly every single week. So it gives you kind of a current read on what's actually going on in our market today. And what we're looking at right here is the median list price in Frisco. And it's important to look at that because it kind of gives us an idea where prices are trending. So if we look over here, this data is accurate as of May 8th, and the 7-day median list price is $749. The 90-day median list price is $745. So as you can see, pricing in Frisco itself, although it may go up and down from month to month, it's showing right here that it is incredibly stable right now. Now, if I flip over to Prosper and look at the exact same thing here, you're going to see a very similar story. I mean, look here, the 7-day median is at 88500 and the 90-day median is at 880. So virtually no change whatsoever. That is completely flat. And this data is looking at all single family homes. So next up here, we're taking a look at inventory, which is simply the supply of homes available for sale. And as you can see, inventory in Frisco continues to climb, and it's climbing fairly rapidly. That means buyers have a whole lot more choice than they did, if you look here, at any time over the past several years. And as we go up here, you're going to see a very similar story in Prosper. Here's the inventory in Prosper, and you can see it is also climbing really, really quickly, and it is now at the highest level it has been at any time since October. Well, this chart going back to October of 2021. And when buyers have more choice, that becomes the time when sellers have to be very careful on their prices. And that's where you start to look at how many homes are having to take a price reduction before going under contract. Now, this price reduction metric is not one that a lot of people look at, but it's honestly one of my favorite because it shows current strength in the marketplace. So if you think about it, if a seller's got their home up for sale and they're getting lots of activity, they have no reason to cut their price. If they are not getting the activity that they were expecting at the price that they are listed on or listed for, then they are going to have to reduce their price. So as you can see here, price reductions in Frisco are ticking up ever so slightly, but this is not out of the ordinary. I mean, we could say, okay, nearly 40% of all homes are taking a price reduction, but if we go back over the past several years, you can see that's not way out of the norm by any means. Now, if we go up here and look at Prosper, you're going to see something very, very similar. Price reductions have started to edge up a little bit, and again, this is all inventory. So this is including that new construction inventory. But again, it's nothing dramatic compared to what Prosper normally sees. But it is showing quite a bit of stability in the marketplace right now, regardless of what those headlines might be saying just about home prices. Now that we've taken a look at the numbers in our local markets, I do want to touch on mortgage rates because this is the area that a lot of buyers seem to be waiting on right now. Now, the belief for many is that mortgage rates are going to drop back into the fours or lower fives, but that's just not really in the cards from what most of the experts are saying. As a matter of fact, from US News, as you can see here, mortgage rates aren't expected to change much over the next several quarters, which obviously has implications for prospective home buyers and sellers. With that in mind, here are the latest mortgage rates projections from Fannie Mae, the Mortgage Bankers Association, and Wells Fargo. And as you can see, I mean, really, they're not expected to change. The average of all three between the second quarter of this year and the second quarter of next year is that they're going to be somewhere between 6.17 and 6.28. So mortgage rates are expected to remain pretty flat for the next 12 months. Now, here is why that matters. As you know, mortgage rates, as we've seen over the past few years, are extremely difficult to predict. These projections, they could be completely wrong. And this really matters when it comes down to timing. If rates do move lower, more buyers coming back into the market at the exact same time. That means more competition, fewer opportunities. So the question is not just what happens if rates fall. The better question becomes what happens if rates fall and everyone else that's been waiting comes back at the same time? Because the best opportunities tend to show up before the market feels obvious to everyone. By the time it feels safe, the best deals are usually gone. Now, one additional thing worth addressing because it has been showing up in some of the headlines and on social media lately is foreclosures. So what we're looking at here is the latest foreclosure numbers. And as you can see, have they increased? They have. But it's also important to remember that they are increasing incredibly low levels to begin with. Remember back in the pandemic timeframe, foreclosures were not allowed. I mean, there was a mandate that properties could not be foreclosed on. So are they up? Yes, they are up, but from historically low levels. It's also important to keep in mind that foreclosures are part of every single market, good and bad. They happen. They're a part of real estate in general. But as you can see here, this data is going back 21 years. So if you look at where we are on the far right-hand side of this graph, compared to where we have been in the past, we are nowhere near a situation where there's warning signs going off that foreclosure activity is out of control. So if you're a buyer in the current market, here's where this leaves you. The best opportunities right now continue to show up in quick move-in new construction homes. So homes that are either standing, finished inventory, ready to go, or homes that will be complete in the next month or two. And this is especially true if you have some flexibility, as I mentioned before, on timing and floor plan and things like that. If you are after one very specific floor plan on one very specific lot, in a specific community, then your options are definitely going to be more limited. But if you're open to comparing a few different builders and communities, then there are real opportunities out there. And remember, the opportunity is not always in the price. Sometimes the better deal is in the payment. A builder incentive on the rate, for instance, can make a massive difference to your monthly payment, more so than a price reduction would. And if you want, go ahead and check out the video I released just last week that goes through that in a whole lot more detail. So you really have to get an idea of the complete picture. The price, the rate, the incentives, the closing costs, the timeline, all of those things factor in. Now for sellers, anyone considering selling out there, the pending sales and closed sales numbers should give you encouragement. They tell you that the buyers are still active. This is definitely not a bad market. Is it more competitive than it was 3 or 4 years ago? Yes. If you haven't been keeping close tabs on it and you're expecting things to be like they were 3 or 4 years ago, you are absolutely going to be disappointed. Buyers are comparing your home to more options. There are more homes for sale these days. There's other resale homes. There's new construction. They're looking at the monthly payment. They're looking at financing incentives. They're looking at condition. That really matters. So homes that are priced correctly and show well, they're still selling. Homes that are overpriced or need updating, they will just sit and sit and sit. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to give your home away by any means, but it means that the pricing strategy has to match the current market. Buyers today are much more disciplined than they have been in years past. They're not going to make a low offer on an overpriced home. We very rarely see that. They're just gonna move on and go and look at something else. So if you want to talk through what that might mean or look like in your specific situation, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than happy to help. So that's it for the May market update for Frisco and Prosper. Again, those headline numbers can make it look like prices are just in a free fall, but the real story is split between the resale and the new construction markets. Buyer activity is stronger than most people realize. Rates are not expected to drop dramatically in the next year. And the foreclosure headline needs some context. This looks more like normalization after going through a few of these cycles than a crisis to me. So if you're thinking about buying or selling in Frisco, Prosper, or the immediate surrounding areas and want help making sense of what all of this means to you, then I'd love to connect. Go ahead and schedule a free call with me. You're going to find a link in the description below. But I thank you so much for watching. I hope you found value in this video. If you did, please go ahead, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to this channel as I release videos like this each and every week. And with that, I will see you in the next video.